Oh, I was supposed to look at what I was going to do in the city. Well, I know what I'm... Well, I know what Jorgendel's actively going to try to avoid. Resurrecting Tomadrill.
Don't worry. I'm going to bring him to the temple.
I know we got goody two-shoes on him, but he's going to try and convince you not. He's going to be telling you, like, he's good. He was at peace.
He came to me in my dreams and said he didn't want me resurrected.
I had a vision. He said, everything is swell.
So,
Pretty sure he said he wanted to be reincarnated. And to keep killing him until he's a trog.
reincarnated as a kobold.
Random. At least you
If you maximize it.
At least you could be with
You are now a semi-intelligent.
I don't know if Ronaldo's dead.
you could kill these Spanish fellas.
Don't worry, Ronaldo will show up as a major villain at some point.
Ah, you better not.
What about Gandalf?
Yeah, can we call in a favor?
Or there was the other dude too, Talus. Tecmo Bowl. He's the one that the mage that's on top of the bar who just kind of watched us.
Oh yeah,
the super powerful that technically Tomadrill has been corresponding with that none of you know of. But hey,
Okay. Totally forgot about him.
Just suddenly realizes that this correspondent
drop his
person is
bag
gone.
of goo. Your problem now.
fix him.
Wait a second. If you died, does the Iron Stone still float around you?
I don't know.
You just float around a corpse.
Probably would have dropped.
It just hits the floor each
Yeah,
time.
good job. I picked that up.
I forgot he had an Iron Stone.
So did I.
The flaming corpse just
Gonna go on Jorgendel now. To approve my 23 to a 24 AC. Because it matters at this point.
Every time it goes by, your mace just...
So, we're still on the sea, correct? The high tide?
You're just about there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I no longer play a character that moves the story, so...
Well, everybody kind of was doing stuff, whatever. So, as you approach Port Balshuk, you can see that it's clearly a large city. Basically, the coast here is cliffs, kind of like the cliffs at Dover. And you come around a point and you can see a harbor, which is low ground below the cliffs, and above it is this massive walled city with 5 spires in the center of it.
Oh boy.
Protruding above. The port itself looks significant. It's not as large as some of the ports you've been in, but it's clear that it has enough docks and there's enough ships in harbor that it's clear that there's trade and traffic through this city. And there's what appears to be a long roofed building that leads from the port up the cliff to the city proper. The port is, from where you're at as you're approaching it, it's kind of just a it's buildings crammed into this small space. From where you're at, out in, a little bit further in the harbor, you can see past the cliffs. And looking to the north, you're kind of coming down, the coast is like this. To the north, you can see where the mountains kind of start, they turn here and turn inland a little bit. So to the north of the city, the mountains are much closer, but they kind of tail away into the distance. So there's probably some plains and what have you to the east of the city.
Okay.
I'm like, this is Tizite.
Are there any ships in
Throw him over the edge.
ports?
There are many ships.
Okay, so it's...
By the
I guess the other the question, would I see any banners that would tell me to, I don't like those guys, the red stars or whatever the
Uh,
flaming fists.
See,
The red
you're
stars.
there's not like
Or
there's no crimson drops flying on sails in the harbor. But there are many unmarked ships. And you have a wide variety of vessels. At the longer docks, you have like some large ships of some trade ships. There's elven ships. There's smaller fishing vessels.
Was I am I remembering correctly that Rob was instructed to bring us here?
Rob was instructed, and he's been in his cabin since.
Didn't talk to any of us the whole time.
Didn't talk to anyone the whole time.
Even if when I went and knocked on his door.
He had nothing.
Jorgendel's gonna go down there and knock on his door. And see if anyone answers.
He does not answer.
Something's weird.
I'm gonna try his handle.
It's locked.
Damn it.
I'm gonna send Jefferson Wolf to kind of paw in line.
If I take my mace and is the lock metal?
Chain chomp that big rat out of there.
Yeah. And then just pray it off. It's like, oh yeah, I don't know, he's hungry.
Bad mace.
This is gonna be fun.
For those of you who are on deck, you're very very close, and most of you probably haven't spent a whole lot of time on the sea, but it's very clear that Jordan and his crew know what they're doing, and they're kind of making a direct line for a berth on one of the longer docks that's currently empty.
I'm gonna ask Jordan if there's any good. Where's the best ale?
Ah,
Read for your lost friend.
in the port itself, you only have two choices for ale houses. One of them, very rowdy. I like to go there. It can be a good time, but you can find yourself in some trouble. That would be the Broken Tankard. Would be the rowdy place. There is also a more upscale. It's less tavern, more of almost a restaurant. He's never been in there. He couldn't tell you the fare. It's very expensive. But that the Golden Circlet is far more upscale, and typically, at times he's had important passengers that have gone there, but he himself has never gone there.
What's the city's name?
Port
Balls.
Balshuk.
Oh.
Port
Ballsack.
Ballsack.
There you have it.
Or Bolchuk.
Balchucks.
I'm gonna ask him if he knows about any
Ballsack.
Fletchers in town.
Here on the docks, there isn't a whole lot for Fletchers, but if you go into the city proper, find your way to the Marshall District. Many Fletchers call it home.
Okay.
What's the power structure look like in here? Is it Lucy Black?
Yeah. Black Power.
Oh, okay. That's that's a odd twist for medieval society.
Look, we're just going all out. Okay?
Is it king, queen, ruling council?
There's a ruling council, and typically the upper class kind of controls it. Basically, when you get into the city, and when you land, when we hit port and we're on the dock, they're going to send a tariff officer on board who's going to evaluate the cargo. And however, I make frequent trips here, and I happen to know several of the tariff officers, and they may give me breaks at times.
Okay.
He may have more information on current occurrences, but in my experience, the wealthy basically control the city. And they are backed up by, it's not truly a military, it's a more of a militia. However, it's better trained than most militaries, and is comprised almost entirely of dwarves. Now, that's not to say that they have complete control. Temple Way is managed by the temples, and the different pantheons have their own influence within the city.
Just about to ask if there's a temple of Heronius.
No.
And Jordan believes, as do many, that the wizards that control the towers have the true power in the city.
There's definitely not a temple for him.
When you say dwarven militia, Jordan kind of like, what like a clan do they typically hail from?
Most of the dwarves that he's encountered here on the docks, he doesn't go into the city a whole lot, but here in the docks and the taverns where they may be a little bit more free-spirited, once their clan once controlled mines to the north of the city. However, long ago, in some forgotten battle, they lost their home. And
Terrible.
at the time, the king of Port Belcher, when it was still, under monocratic rule, offered them refuge, and they've more or less been the town guard ever since.
And I see it. In terms of like the world map, this is just so I'm writing myself correctly. Where is this port?
You're basically not truly due south, but some distance south of Brandon.
So it's not where I have to worry about where Jordan knows from. No. Good. So I put in here, he's like far north. I'm like, are we at the far north?
No. No, that's... You would have to cross a continent in order to get there, more or less. Well, not really, but kind of.
So, Temple Heronius
There is
on
temple.
Temple Way.
There is a temple of Heronius in Temple Way.
Let's go to Temple of Cord.
There is also a temple of Cord in Temple Way.
Eating some wrestling.
Most major religions are represented.
That's what Cord is.
Most major religions are represented, and even some minor religions. It's actually a very.
What about hers?
It's a very no.
What about
Aww.
Farlane?
Farlane would have probably a small,
Little shrine,
nondescript.
basically.
A little hut.
However,
Death worship
it,
isn't that?
it's a very beautiful district.
Saying.
It's the one place in the city where you can still get fresh air, really, other than the estates. Because the city is, it's not overpopulated, but it's damn close.
Yeah.
And there's parks and stuff where you can get fresh air, but in Temple Way you can go to the temples, but at the same time it's very, everything is very to Jordan it's very overdone.
Is there a large elf presence in
Just
this?
like it.
No.
Very
There-
few elves other than traders and travelers.
Jordan was like, yes.
Stay away from those crooked
And then I'm
elves.
gonna give you the side eye. I'm just like,
Jordan was pleased.
Munchies.
toss a coin to your monkey.
Yep.
So Jordan excuses himself, and you make your final approach, and obviously his crew is very skilled. They bring the ship in, a
Does a 180.
no contact,
Parallels part.
just kind of just brings it in
Tokyo
nicely.
drifts it right in there.
Sets up and drops the gangplank, and the crew. He tells you guys to go to his quarters. Go to the quarters and wait for the tariff officer, and then he makes orders to the crew, and the crew lines up on the edge of the deck. And you can see as you guys are entering his quarters, not an entourage, but a human, just kind of average height, balding a little bit of a beer gut on him, and walking with a purpose.
You see, Kevin goes.
Walking with a purpose, and he's got 2 guards with him.
Okay.
And he's clearly approaching, because you're the only ship that's landed. And you can hear Jordan and his crew talking outside in whispered voices. If you guys want to roll a listen, you can.
11.
8.
26. Jesus.
You hear everything.
You hear the guy 3 ships over shitting himself. He's got scurvy.
Sure.
C-Mac, you can tell that initially it's almost just a very professional, he greets the tariff officer, and the tariff officer says, we're here to inspect your cargo, pay tariffs, and Jordan orders the first mate to take the guy, he says, I'll take you to the holds, and the tariff officer tells the guards to go and get the value for the holds. You hear the hatch to the holds open and footsteps away, and once those footsteps have disappeared, you hear, laughter and just like, oh, Jordan, how are you? And Jordan says, oh, come, I do have something that I need to disclose in my quarters. Oh, did you bring me more of that wine? No. I have passengers. He says, oh, of course. And the door swings open, and C-Mac was kind of standing there just like...
He's got his ear in the door.
And,
Is your morph from a wolf ear back on?
And the two men walk in.
Just like before
Hello.
did I distributed the old sunken ship stuff, right?
What?
I have key 13, but I don't know what that is.
The
I
old.
think we're gonna do that after everything.
Okay, so I still have like a ton of. So money's gonna get distributed out.
You'll have time to yours.
I'm always poor as fuck, so...
Yeah, you are.
I'll just work.
Jesus Christ.
I'm just gonna work on it now because I don't know if this stuff's gonna really pertain to Jordan also.
So, once Jordan opens the door, he turns to him. He goes, oh, I should handle this professionally, shouldn't I? Tariff Officer Gantz, these are my friends. They took passage aboard the ship. I didn't charge them. Perhaps they're on a duty. And notably, Rob still is not here.
Okay.
He says, I took him on a duty. The mage, the odd one that I picked up my last trip, he has insisted that I bring them back to the city. And you know how mages are. It's probably something to do with the wizard's tower. I didn't want to question, and I didn't want to charge.
Wizard's
And
tower.
Gantz kind of eyeballs you, he looks through, and he very clearly, he looks at the clerics and the paladin and even the druid, and there's not a whole lot of suspicion. His eyes, he doesn't have a distaste in his eyes, but you can see his eyes narrow a little bit when he sees the dwarves. And he eyeballs the clearly a rogue, and he's like, well, you don't look like you'll be too much trouble.
Try to hide right now. Just
Just like hide in plain sight.
go back against the wall.
Suddenly he doesn't see him.
And he looks around and he goes, ha, any friend of Jordan's is a friend of mine. What answers can I give you before you go aboard? Is this your first time here in Port Baltic?
I just pop out.
Yes.
I just pop out and be like, "Wizards, am I right?"
Which he will snicker about. He will laugh.
Yeah, I clearly try to make a joke and it just fails. But other than that, then I just.
If I tried to do it with a minus
And
2
where
charisma,
you're
I'd be
at
like,
now on the
am I
docks,
right?
the other
Wizards?
thing, noticeably the walls hide view of the city. You can't
Okay.
see the city. All you can see is the walls and the buildings.
What about the tops of the spires?
The spires are hidden as well.
Still too far away?
Yep.
Okay.
Are there any customs we need to know about?
Ah,
That's a good
customs. Are you speaking of things in the city? Basically here, if you stay out of the way of the rich, you'll be fine.
Duly noted.
However, you will have to travel through the customs building to get into the city proper. They will ask you to declare any valuables you have. Not that they're going to charge you for them, they are actually very fair. However, they want to know who and what moves within the city. This is a very dangerous land, and as a result, the ruling council likes to keep an eye on who is here. Now, that being said, I will have to take your names before you leave. If you choose to enter the customs building and travel into the city proper, those names will be compared against a register.
I'm probably already on
Really?
Okay.
I could tell when you came here last.
Yeah.
How long do you plan on staying?
A fortnight.
Couple weeks.
Not the
Tops.
game.
That's her
Okay,
goal.
so
So,
Fortnite.
so we're getting a whole different spectrum. He goes, I see, I
We're
see.
not really sure.
Not a whole lot of plans. Fair enough, fair enough. Enjoy the city, just try to keep yourself out of trouble. The council is fair, though. And as a
Supple
result,
is our middle name.
you should be fine as long as you don't go searching for trouble.
We don't
And-
search for trouble. We fix it.
There's always money to be made.
Good, because we got a dead friend we gotta resurrect.
Oh. Oh, you brought a body. That should be noted. That being said, there is only one place in the city that performs resurrections currently, and that would be at the Temple of Pelor.
But war?
It is a grand building in Temple's Way to the north of the spires.
Are you sure Heronius doesn't do that?
Do you not know of Port Balsham?
I don't. We've never been here before. I've never been here before.
We're doobies.
Port Balshuk proper, while not ruled by the wizards, is ultimately controlled by the wizards. Perhaps you saw the spires on your way in. Those spires were specifically created to keep magic out of our city.
Interesting.
Okay, what, by magic do you mean casting of spells?
There is
Do you need
a
a permit to cast
continuous anti-magic field upon all of Port Balshuk proper.
Are magic items affected by this?
Any but the most powerful magics are affected.
Got it.
Here in the port, it's kind of the Wild West, but that's the way I like it.
Just gonna shoot someone now.
However, once you get into the city proper, be prepared.
Do you know what, why the Temple of Pelor is the only place
The
allowed to
Temple
practice
of-
magic?
Because
The Temple of Pelor.
every other temple pales in comparison.
I throw them into the
That
ocean.
wasn't very good.
The Temple of Pelor
If you do that, a wild shape into a
has
shark
received
chase
specific rights from the council as the primary healing location in the city to have chambers that are protected from this anti-magic field. And he leans over, and even though clearly no one's listening, listening in on his conversation, he goes, "Lead-lined." This is to ensure that any disease outbreaks or such problems that occur in the city can be dealt with.
Are there any special things we're gonna have to do to get our
Need admittance.
friend safely transported to?
Are there any prerequisite quests?
How about his spell of gentle repose? Is that gonna fade as we go
Gentle
into the city?
repose will fade once you're in the city proper. This
Man,
is a
we're
valid
not-
question, so you are going to have to work quickly once you're in the city.
we're not
However,
wrong.
that being said, by foot the city is fairly well set up, and you can follow the main thoroughfares directly there. Signage will lead you. You will not struggle. You may get some disconcerted looks by hauling the dead through the city. You may also draw some fans. Very seldom do resurrections occur within the city walls.
We love death and we love
Mostly
resurrection.
because the money that's required for such is beyond the average soul. That being said, it's not unheard of.
Looks like
We have had
Tommy will be
adventurers
stayed
here
there
before.
He's gotta stay out here until we gather the money.
We're gonna have to crowdfund.
Oh,
You guys want to see a resurrection?
We're gonna need
Yeah.
1 copper per person.
how much is it?
Yeah, do we have a general idea?
So like 9,000.
He doesn't even have the beginnings of a guess. It's something you're going to have to go and inquire at the Temple of Plor.
Alright,
Alright.
I'm gonna leave his body out here.
Where can we store this body?
We'll park him in a
Probably
corner.
on the ship.
In the customs
You can leave.
building.
Jordan is fine with you leaving it on the ship if that's what's necessary.
Strap
Yeah,
them in a
I'm
tarp and just leave them in
Are
there.
there any necrophiliacs on the ship that we
Don't
should know
float.
about?
Tether him to the boat.
The salt will keep them, you know, the brine will
Salt
keep
'em?
them.
Just gonna
Take
make
all
a
those-
fine roast after this.
Some Tamil jerky.
He's
gonna wake up-
we're gonna pickle him.
He's gonna wake up super dehydrated.
Everyone gets what they want. This is your monies. Let me know when you're all ready.
Mhm.
Hold up.
Okay.
Hold up.
Hold up. So, okay.
Ready?
1 billion gold.
36 platinum. 46 electrum.
What the fuck is that?
It's mostly for other things, but
226 gold.
I'm officially overweight.
489 silver. 616 copper.
Jesus.
You're rich
And
now.
I have like a laundry list of gems that I'm gonna have to get appraised.
I have a laundry list of gems too.
Electrium?
Electrum.
Electron. It's a blend of platinum and gold. 1 electrum piece is worth 2 gold pieces.
I need to go through the customs and I need to make my way to the Marshall District because this is really, really fucking heavy
Are
on
there
me.
banks? Are there banks here?
Yeah, we're gonna need a
Oh,
bank.
it's in the wealthier parts, there's banks.
Why don't we just put all that money in like a wheelbarrow and just roll that
Oh my
in?
God.
Got a
And
list of
just
gems
do it
here.
directly to the temple.
I mean, you also have options here on the shore. Spend money.
I just want to go to a Fletcher's.
He
Single-minded.
needs more arrows.
I need more arrows and I need to search for a better quiver.
It's a quiver upgrade.
Arrows can be found here. There are various shops that supply the ships and the crews. Right here in the port.
Who could I see about money changing some precious jewels?
Ah, gem changing. Gem changing, gem changing, gem changing. I would suggest traveling to the South Market. The South Market typically is only used by the middle class and above.
Fairly honest folks.
That being said,
I have some gems.
oh, here in Port Baltrick there are few who are honest. At least entirely. If you're looking for honesty, your best chance is right here in the port. That being said, there are several shops here that may be willing to buy gems as well. I could not say it. He kind of points at himself, you know, he's just, yeah, he's wearing a uniform that's clearly like the tariff officer, but it's like, it hasn't been washed in a while. He's like, clearly I'm not one for fineries.
Keep like thinking that I have like a ton of weapons to sell off, but that's the other campaign.
Yeah.
Chucks. Or it's just like, like it's Masterwork Scimitar, Masterwork Scimitar, Masterwork Scimitar, Masterwork, and I'm the only one with the strength. So it's like,
Gems.
This one's
30 swords sticking out.
pretty much like,
Yeah.
like
just take one arrow,
like
put it
peacock
in,
of
and
weapons.
it makes sense.
10 Masterwork studded leather armor. So,
That's weird.
alright.
My first priority is going to be to go inquire about resurrection.
Like if you have
Oh no.
like
Yeah,
a
we
silver
should at
arrow or
least get
something that's like
an
a
idea
plus
of
one
how much
arrow
it's
or
gonna
something
be.
like that.
Jorgendal size.
See, that just sounds like it's talking about the.
We need your help to exchange his gems.
Yeah.
I will follow along too. 'cause
No.
Same.
looking for-
So,
I have gems.
if you guys are done asking questions,
I think so.
Gans is going to get your information. Are you guys all going to give your real names?
Uh huh.
Oh, I'm going to, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, guess.
Check the alignment.
Doesn't matter to me either way.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I was lower down,
It's
so
a
I don't
rogue,
care.
no.
So everybody gives their names. He jots them down in a little notebook he has, and he says, "Jordan, I will talk to you later. Perhaps. Maybe we'll see each other at the Broken Tankard this evening. Folks, please take time to look at the port itself first. I think you'll find many, many splendid areas to spend your hard-earned coin before you get into the city proper. Your friend is dead already. He'll wait."
Good shit.
Sure, shit ain't raising himself.
With that, he kind of does a half bow. He says, "Enjoy Port." He almost like senses the fact that the guards are back. "Enjoy Port Belshuk, my friends." And he turns around to the guards, and he just, as he turns, you can see him go from like this goofy jovial to just like business again. And he goes, "What's in the holds?" And the guards report, there's basically nothing there. He says, well, Jordan, it'll be 5 gold pieces, standard." And Jordan, digs in his pocket and gives him 5 gold. He goes, "Thank you, sir." "No, thank you," from the Council of Belshuk. And they exit the ship.
Alright.
Seems on the up and up.
Go and explore, I guess.
When Jorgano gets into the, steps off the gangplank, and so does the covered walkway or the building that goes up. Is that like a thoroughfare that leads up to the city?
It's open at the bottom end, and it's quite a distance
Then you
up.
wouldn't have to worry about
But
it.
it's open, but you can see that there's clearly doors beyond it. However, the road leads in there, and although there isn't wagons traveling in there, you can pretty much make the assumption that wagons can travel in and out of this building to the main city and back.
Lodging can be procured probably in the ports too, right?
The lodging could be procured in the port if you wanted to search around.
Look at probably him.
Him.
Yeah,
Me?
yeah. Jorgano does like the bunk here, bunk in there. I motion to the city.
No, let's just stay down here for now.
Yeah, we gotta find some lodging.
So as you step off the docks, you're on one of the larger docks, and basically directly in front of you and to your left, and slightly to your right, are all large stone warehouses. Several of them are marked with the crest that you guys would clearly recognize as the Merchant League. The Merchant League are renowned international traders. But there's other merchants too that you don't recognize. To your right, as the warehouses, thin a little bit, there's a main thoroughfare that leads up to the covered walkway, and on the opposite side of it is an almost tenement ramshackle of houses that have all kind of been packed in. Some sharing common walls, some made of wood, some of stone, some of both. Varying levels of quality. And there's most of the bustle that you hear is further off of the seaboard.
You guys should stay at the port.
I had to live my life. I go to the city.
Do whatever you want.
I would like to visit the Shrine of Farlane, but I can wait for a little bit if needed.
Well, I think we're going there right away to find out how much it's going to cost.
I'm going to go there. I don't know if you should go there
I'm gonna wander around, look at the shops.
because you worship
you know where the shops are.
Yep, I'm
God
just
of
gonna look
death.
at them. I'm gonna.
But do you actually know where the port and shops are?
Oh
Is
no,
it
that
like
I'm just
the
gonna wander
You're just
around.
gonna wander in
God?
the port?
Yep.
Am I supposed to hate them?
Along
No.
the edge of the cliffs,
They don't know I want
like
to see
surrounding
that.
each side at the entry, there's clearly a line of shops.
You don't know that.
On the side with the housing, there's also the 2 taverns that you heard about.
Okay.
On the left, there is an inn as well.
I throw on
There's
the
in front of the shop.
quote.
There's people out and about.
It's very bustling.
Okay, I'm gonna
It's clearly a busy port.
ask one if they can point me in the direction of anyone who would like buy gems.
Oh, you stop an old man and scratches his chin and says, "Well, the wizards are always looking for tools. You could try their magic shop.
Fucking wizards.
Okay.
The only others that I can imagine have the kind of coin to buy anything substantial would be the Steel Sentinel or the other shop's name. Elfland Oddities.
Oh. Ooh.
What's a Steel Sentinel? What is that place?
Oh, the Steel Sentinel. Crazy, crazy halfling runs that place. You have to see it to believe it. And he points to a building, and it's clearly like, here's a bunch of stuff that washed up on shore, and I built my house on it. It's like random boards, and it's like broken shields, but it's huge. It climbs like, it looks like it goes up like 5 stories of this shit.
Jesus.
I'm gonna ask him where the wizard shop is.
Wizard's Tower Wares. Just to your right of the entry to the customs building.
I want to make.
And he
my
points to it. This is a very, like, regimental stone building. No windows. One door on the front of it. And it says above it, Wizard Towers Wares. On a very freshly painted sign.
I'm gonna start making my way over there, and as I'm walking, I'm gonna turn to everyone and be like, "I might not see you guys later."
Never gonna see
Bye.
you again. Bye.
I'm gonna get held captive in a wizard's tower for eons.
I wonder what is PH?
Gambler's Hall 50.
Oh, Gambler. Yeah, you're right. It is Gambler.
I don't know where I pulled that one from.
I don't know either.
Memory.
And it's a bunch
What
of
happened
gems
yesterday?
from
Yeah.
Gambler's Hall.
Yeah.
You remember something?
We
like
also had
that
some
when
other
you
stuff
grew
that I
up
may
in
have
the
identified that
village,
at some
you
point and then dispersed it.
I think so. Because you did do some identifications.
You're a dude.
You're a dude, I'm a dude. We're all dudes.
I also
Does
have,
that mean
I do have access to
Fantastic.
No, you're not a dad.
I also have Gambler's Hall
Dude,
22
it's not
on.
gender specific.
I'm a dude. He's a dude. She's a dude. We're all just dudes.
Alright,
Yeah.
Dude.
Guy,
Yes.
he's the only one with the plan?
you
Gambler
no,
Hall, 36
Robot, Robot did as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Guy, you enter Wizard Tower Square, and it is
Because you can roleplay once in a while.
very much
I took a couple spells for
a very clean shop. The area you enter the building, and the building is like very large, but the showroom, so to speak, consists of a couple of shelves, which are covered in items, a few racks with scrolls. There's some assorted weapons and armors that are on racks, and some potions. Robot,
Yo.
you're going to the Steel Sentinel, correct?
Crazy place?
Crazy place.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You open the door to the Steel Sentinel, and this shop is the fucking Rad Cove Magic Shop. There is just things everywhere. However, of note is a strange golem standing just inside the door that turns and looks at Hewitt, and in a robotic voice says, "Welcome to the Steel Sentinel."
Thanks.
On the far side, from behind the counter, and it's a very short counter, you hear a crash, and this disheveled halfling comes out and goes, "Oh, welcome, welcome, come in, come in! Not often we have travelers. Feel free, browse the wares."
I was curious. Let's take a look.
We're into the temple.
Yeah.
Everybody else is going into town.
I didn't say I
What's
was
the
going
temperature
around.
in town?
It's early fall, so it's still pretty nice out. It's not like you guys need to bundle up in your direwolf cloaks.
Damn it. Use it as cover.
I'm going to go find out where the resurrection is.
Alright, so you're going into town.
Yeah.
Is anybody else? You're going into town as well. Your turn.
Yes.
I'm gonna head to the shop for a while too.
There are other shops in this one.
Yeah. I am gonna go trade in these gems.
Are you going to
Yeah.
buy one of the
Where?
shops that these guys are at, or
No, at the other shop in
Okay.
southern, what have you, that,
you want to go to the South Market?
yeah.
We need gold to platinum.
5 platinum for 1 gold.
Wait, what?
5 platinum for 1 gold.
5 platinum for 1 gold.
5 gold to 1 platinum?
Or that's what I mean. 5 gold to 1 platinum. Sorry.
Had some confusion there.
There's a weird point in history where silver is more valuable than gold. Actually happened. China. And people made a lot of fucking money.
I'm actually gonna go to the inn first.
Just the standalone inn. There's an inn that's by itself, independent of the taverns. And generally, most taverns have
And in
some kind of sleeping.
No, just the standalone inn.
The
is what I-
standalone inn. The Broken Mast Inn is the one building that stands in between the shops and the harbor warehouses. It's kind of by itself, and the road kind of thins as you approach. You travel further down, and it's an area that is wide enough to have a pretty substantial sized building. The building itself is well kept. The exterior, it's clean. The sign is well painted. It doesn't look garish, but at the same time, it's not a rundown hole. It seems acceptable at the least.
Did I pass any of the taverns on my way here? I'm just
The
thinking, like-
taverns. If you walk up, the inn is here. The taverns are over here.
Okay. Any of the taverns look more reputable than this?
The Golden Circlet clearly looks more reputable than this.
Okay.
The Golden Circlet is garish. It looks like something that in your past you would expect to see in an area of nobility. It's very clear that is a, upscale building. Additionally, the second thing would be, while as the Broken Tankard has 2 just dudes in like leather tunics and like torn up pants standing out front, it has clearly, guards that are in breastplate with spears standing out front.
Wearing only one class.
This is not your fantasy. This is Dungeons and Dragons. It's a fantasy.
I know that's why I have a loin cloth rather than just nothing. Come on. Bring a
So
banana.
your silver to gold 10?
10 silver to 1 gold.
I'm going to go to the Golden Circlet.
You're going to go to the Golden Circlet.
No,
As you approach, the guards clearly are looking at you.
Yep.
However, they recognize the symbol of Feronius,
Okay.
And it's spit on you.
and they don't stop. They put the spears across, and they say, "Sir, do you have reservations?"
I do not. I'm looking to create or to get some lodging for the night.
And in no way are they looking at you demeaningly. And they move the spears, and one of them taps it twice. And a very elegantly dressed man comes out and he says, "Ah, sir, you're looking for accommodations. a meal, perhaps? Or were you looking for a room for the evening?
Room for the evening. And a
yes.
meal.
And he's clearly looking at you, and you can see the gears turning. He goes, of course, someone of your stature will require a warm bath. Perhaps someone to take care of your armor.
I prefer to take care of my own armor, but a bath would be wonderful.
Certainly. Give me one moment. And he slips back inside. Comes back out. We have 3 separate rooms. One on the main floor consists of a main room, a sitting room, an office with a desk, a bath chamber,
And a sex room.
and a bedroom.
Yes.
Bondage. Sex room.
One on the second floor is a bit simpler. It merely has a main room, a bathroom, and a bed chamber. However, it does have a stunning view of the hut. The third room would be on the uppermost floor. It is quite spacious, typically only reserved for nobility, but one as clearly regal as yourself would feel quite at home.
Afford this place. I don't think we can either. For the golden name.
Would it be inappropriate to inquire as to the price of the second room?
Oh, certainly not. Frugility often leads the most wealthy to their hoards. The room on the second floor is a mere 75 gold tonight. Along with that, our kitchen staff will serve you a fine dinner in the room, and should you require any other sundries, feel free to inquire.
Some extra amenities.
Perhaps
Oh,
an
sure.
Abba boy.
I need my armor polished, if you know what I mean. My spear.
Very hard to handle.
Extra care given to the helm.
I'm going to politely, the most polite way to say I'll think about it and I'll come back.
Of course, sir. We understand that sometimes temple matters come before finding lodging.
Indeed.
It's like, I can't afford that. What the fuck? Get out of here.
I'm a poor paladin.
You're fucking crazy! Stab.
Evil! Usury!
I demand justice. Smite.
You have offended my honor.
Alright, so everybody other than those 3 went into town, or did you? You went to the shop with them.
Yeah.
But everybody else is going in the city proper.
Yep.
So the rest of you approach the customs tunnel, basically. And as you could kind of tell from a distance,
About
the beginning of it is
7,000
just an overlay.
I got about 5.
And inside, there's a cart path, and clearly labeled an entrance on the left and an exit on the right. In front of the entrance and the exit, on either side, there's 2 guards. One a dwarf, one a human, in full plate, wearing the emblem that by this point you would have determined is the town guard of Balsha. But they're paying really no attention to the people that travel past.
Wait, would they be Bolsheviks?
Yes.
Okay. Carry on.
All Japanese. Oh, as I approach, Manchi, Himanch, is kind of like right here. Like it looks like it's draped, but I would know that it's kind of like looking around. I think.
Everything. Judging.
I don't know. If I
Like,
pass
you got
by
your
the
own
dwarf
pet.
and kind of like look him over, like seeing if I recognize him or anything like that.
He to you, he definitely does not have features similar to the dwarves
From my
from your homeland.
Okay. How? Huh? It's all the different beards.
Yeah.
His beard goes like this, and mine goes like that.
But you can tell he's still very proud. I mean, he still wears the accoutrements of his clan.
What kind of weapons are they brandishing?
They both have long swords and shields. They're
Okay,
just
standard fare. What's like the? So does this lead to like the main thoroughfare, or is this like a?
you're basically you come up and it's just an eave, and inside there's a door, entrance door, and an exit door, and then the wagon path up the middle that are all closed. And it's an enclosed building that kind of makes a tunnel that travels up to the city proper.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to the dwarf. Like, I need to find the resurrection temple.
Right this way, sir. And he opens the door. Says, "Stop at the customs desk inside. Declare your possessions, and you'll be allowed entrance into the city."
Okay.
And with the door open, you can see there's basically it's a chute more or less. And on the left side, there's a low counter with several clerks, human clerks behind with
Am I in
various
the
piles of paper.
anti-magic field yet?
Nothing that you've noticed.
Okay. So I go up to the desk and say, like, I'm here to visit the Temple of Resurrection. I got a friend that needs to be.
Got kind of
Obviously.
The human goes, "Oh, it's not a very often request we have here. It's quite pricey, but I understand, sir." And he gives you a paper. He goes, "Please just fill this out." And it has like, what are you bringing in the? What's your estimated worth of what you're bringing into the city? Do you have any items of extreme value? Your purpose of being there. Basically, things that you should declare. What are you declaring you're bringing into the city? And it also has just, where was your original port of call? Where are you coming from?
home.
I look at Monch, I'm like, not. And I write up my basic shit that I have on me. I don't really have much. I mean,
Right.
I have my armor, which I think is like, I don't know if I think it's just basic plate. My overall value.
You're going to list what your actual approximate value is, other than you're not declaring much.
Unlimited?
Yeah. Well, I got Tomadril shit too, so quite a bit.
You think you're the most valuable thing in the world, so you have an limit.
For where I hail from, I use the first city that we departed. I don't use my natural hometown. Purpose for being here, resurrecting a dead employer.
And once you've filled out the paperwork, he takes it. He looks at you when he reads dead employer. He's like, and he files it. He goes, "You may go. Follow the path up. You'll emerge in the city. First time here?
Yes.
You'll emerge in the port market. The port market can be bustling this time of day. Continue north. It'll take you into the Marshall District. Follow the main way through the Marshall District. It will wrap around the towers, through the Council District, out into the Arts District, which will eventually end in Temple Way. Good luck, sir."
Sounds like a long way.
There is some distance, yes.
He's just gonna stop at a tavern.
Is there any carts? Are there any carriages?
Perhaps on the edge of the port market you may find something. However,
Rickshaws?
this time of day it's so bustling that they're hit and miss.
Thank you. I scurry out the door with my little legs.
And you take it takes quite some time actually to make it up this. It just continues at an incline, and it's just once you get past the desks, it opens up, and it's probably you could travel 6 or 7 abreast.
Mm.
But it's just a chute. It's a fucking cattle chute, and it ends in a doorway.
Okay. I get to the doorway.
Yep.
My two characters go through and are pretty forthcoming as well.
Okay.
To declare things, like Nathan will say that he's from one of the later cities he's been into, not listing his first one either. Other than that.
When you reach the door and you open it, you're immediately just assailed with noise, and it opens into this bustling market, and it's people, there's shopkeepers at stands that are just hollering, "Oh, sir, over here, I've got the finest wares," yelling at people that are wandering the market, and it's very boisterous. It's a very loud market. The sun is shining, and you get different smells of foods cooking.
All the things Jorgenel loves.
And also
Not worth it.
Just clearly patrolling this, you do
You
see
see me on your way out. This is yours now.
members of the town guard, primarily dwarves, although there are a handful of humans with truncheons, just kind of patrolling the market.
Shot at glance the rogue. Take a step off the door, off of the path, and like, God damn it. I hate this city.
It is a bit much.
Yeah.
Directly ahead of you, once you've stepped out of the door and get clear of the awning, you can see the spires. The 5 towers in the center. Just shooting upwards. Also, you can tell that behind you, once you're out of the awning, you have gigantic, just huge stone walls protruding straight up. Additionally, ahead of you, which you would assume is marking the edge of the port market, is a much shorter wall, and it looks much older.
Old and new cities.
You're going with him?
Oh no, I've got to get through there, don't I, to get to where I need to go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not going to travel directly with them, but you're
Yeah.
going in the same direction. And
Yeah.
you have much the same area. I'm assuming you're going to declare what you have.
Yeah, gems and cloaks.
Where are you
scrolls.
declaring you're from?
Uh,
Are you going to declare your home as your home, or are you going to declare somewhere else?
somewhere else. I'll pick one of the cities that we stopped at
Okay.
randomly.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Is there like an urchin child around, like, panhandling with a child or something like that?
It's not really in the port market.
Okay. I'm gonna keep my eyes out for one as I make my way.
Hope
So you're
it's
heading for
quick
Temple
you.
Way. You're heading for the South Market.
Yeah.
Mark, where are you guys heading? You're heading for Temple Way as well?
Temple Way, yeah.
Okay. Robot.
Yeah.
We're going to go around and hit you 3 again.
Okay.
Or you 4.
These boots. How much for them? I don't know much.
I mean, I can tell you. I have
Yeah,
them.
for one.
Yeah.
The Steel Sentinel. I'm assuming you're talking about the boots of striding and springing.
Yep.
They are 6,875 gold
Can't
pieces.
pay a gold over 2,000.
I cannot take a gold piece less than 6,875 gold pieces.
2,500.
You feel a hand on your shoulder.
Really?
The
Your
golem
turn is
by
not
the door is standing behind you. He's very tall.
Yep.
And I know you're a dwarf, but he's very much like normally putting your hand on the shoulder of a dwarf is like this. He's like this. And he says, "Sir," and very robotic, "Sir, all prices are final." And the halfling goes, "Oh, come on, Gregory. He's just trying to dick her."
I was about to say.
And roller shit. Is that your laptop or the computer?
That's the computer over there.
They're like,
All right, Guy. Well, actually, Robot, are you going to continue to just browse? Are you going to look down the street at other shops? There's other shops.
Yeah.
There are several. As you walk further down, there's several other. There's a few a chandlery and your more mundane shops. Eventually, you do pass a smaller building. It looks kind of out of place. Called the Bubbling Cauldron. And just as you're passing by it, the smell, like, it doesn't stink, but it's a very odd, like, acrid smell just emanating from it. Next door to the bubbling cauldron is a more standardized storefront. The sign out front says The Empty Sheet, and it has like looks like a scroll on the signpost. And next door to that is a place called Elfland Oddities, which is much more artistic in appearance.
Ugh, elves.
Definitely don't like that place. I'll just go look for some supplies, food and stuff.
There's, several various general stores type shops. Most of them stock what you'd expect to see, on ships. However, finding trail rations and whatever you're looking for as far as mundane goods, if you search long enough, you'd be able to find.
Okay.
Guy, moving on to you.
I'm gonna try to act super charismatic and be like, your things, they're nice. I like them.
You have nice stuff here.
Yeah, nice.
The man behind the counter, he clearly has a half chuckle. Yes, the wizards make fine things.
And then I'm going to walk up to the counter and I'm going to say, I heard you might buy gems.
Yes. We do from time to time purchase gems. Our preference is in trading for goods. However, should you want us to buy them for cash, I'm sure we could find someone to scrounge up the money.
I am interested in your gloves.
Gloves. More specific?
I'm going to point at the gloves of dexterity. Say, those gloves.
Doesn't actually
Eyes
do
up from across the room. You're talking gloves of dexterity plus 2, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, not the plus 4s?
Yeah.
Those are 7,000.
I'm going to put down an emerald, 2 tourmalines, and a topaz, and say, what would these rough out to?
Do you not know what they're worth?
I mean, I do, but some people might have different,
Opinions.
you know.
He's going to
each. I
He's
feel
going
like
to, when you set them down, he's going to get he pulls out from behind the counter. He pulls out a black sheet, and he pulls out one of the eyepieces. And he's viewing them. Then he gets out a scale and he weighs it. And he's pretty much spot on the value of all the gems, whatever I've told you before.
it's like the town of Pawn Stars. Best I can do is this.
Yeah, you're not gonna get those gloves.
No, I have other things, but
I'll trade you my body.
One whole night.
Ooh, we're sexing now?
Always sexy.
It's true. It's a
Sexy right
lifestyle.
now. You didn't know. Just holding.
Hands free.
You know.
It goes this way and that way and this way and that way.
It's a rock crystal.
Rock crystals are worth like $10.
Yeah. Star Rose Quartz.
They're worth a bit more.
I'm gonna look at him and say, I don't have enough for the gloves. However,
Terrible bargainers.
would you buy these gems from?
Roll a d10.
Got a lake house. I'll sell you for a great price. You can sell me this for a great price first.
Got a timeshare on this island
Yep.
that we just were at.
If I got a deal for you.
7. 90% of the value.
Let's do it.
Just went from not being encumbered to be encumbered.
Now you-
Oh, yeah. No, I was.
He, he thanks you, and interestingly enough, he pays you primarily in platinum.
How many gold is enough platinum?
5.
5.
So if you had 1,300 times 0.9,
Yeah, it's 1,170.
divide that by 5. We can maths together.
You're in the city, so encumbrance unless you're in combat, encumbrance ultimately.
Or you're getting chased.
Or you're being chased. C-Mac?
Do you plan on trying to chase?
Harassed.
I'm just walking around the shop looking.
Oh, I'm gonna make my way to another shop.
Which shop would you like to go to?
I'll go to the Elvish.
The Elvish Oddities?
Yeah.
Oh, because you're elven. But you half elf?
Yeah.
There you go, like
When you enter the shop, there's clearly... Roll a listen.
Listen. Hi.
27.
As soon as you enter the shop, you hear a crackle, and
I want to snap.
there's an elf behind the counter. And he goes, "Oh, sir, don't mind that. Just security. Feel free to browse our wares. Try not to mess up the lists into one another. I have master lists, but
Here's the.
you can just put it in the middle of the table. Robot, you can just set it in the middle of the table. It's fine. In case somebody else decides to go there. C-Mac's just wandering. Kevin.
Yeah.
I'm gonna walk away from the golden circlet and go directly to the other one.
To the tavern?
Yeah, so
The broken mastin, or are you going to
the other tavern.
the broken
The
tanker?
broken tanker. I want them to watch me do it too.
Okay. You can see the guards are just kind of like. And when you get to the broken tanker, the guys at the door don't even pay attention to you. They're just standing there. They're clearly not happy about what they're doing, but whatever. The door to the inns, or to the tavern, is already open, and it's just salt and Solavictus is the smell that emerges.
For some of us, that brings a direct smell to the heart.
Inside,
Remember that one.
inside, it's not a clean place by any means. There's various levels of sailors at various levels of drunk at tables and at the bar. There's no fire in the hearth right now, and there's two bartenders that are drawing off giant casks, filling drinks and exchanging coin inside.
Sounds more like home.
Alright, I'm gonna go sit down at the bar, order me a cheap ale.
Okay. Good thing. 'Cause that's pretty much all they have.
How much is their cheapest cheap ale?
Copper.
Oh shit.
Copper, and you get like a good tankard of it.
It's gonna be
Is it
terrible.
bad?
Take a swig. Do I throw up? I'm an adult.
It's not like
It's not as bad as
it's bad, but it's not awful. Like it's bearable.
Okay.
It definitely has a kick. You can tell that it's probably it's
Is it a homemade?
it's
Maybe they make that.
In the
it's
toilet.
like could be, but it's got. I mean, it definitely has. It's a pungent brew.
Does
You
it
know, it has
raise your
some strength to it.
constitution and lower your agility?
I mean, the bathtub maybe kick you in
I'm gonna inquire of this bartender as to what the room prices are here.
And he's going about helping other customers,
Yep.
and he goes, 5 copper, common room floor.
Alright.
Continues doing.
Do you have any actual rooms?
kind of stops and looks at you. Does it look like we have actual rooms?
All right.
I thought that these two places would be right next to each other. It's like,
Well, they go in the first one, I'm like, nope. They go in the second one, I'm like, nope. Go back to the first one.
All right. Well, I'm gonna finish my ale. Not immediate. Like I'm not gonna.
Take your time.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little. Then I'm gonna go back to the original place that I went, the actual inn.
Okay, you're gonna travel back over to
Yep.
the Broken Mast Inn.
Yep.
All right.
It's like, ugh, everywhere's bad for different reasons.
yeah.
The Broken Mast Inn is very much more what you'd be accustomed to finding on the road. It's very much an inn. You enter, and there's an innkeep behind the counter. Ah, travelers. Welcome to my humble inn.
Thank you. Have you tried to get into that Golden Circlet place? The place is ridiculous.
you can see he kind of does a...
This place is only 30 gold.
Ah, the Golden Circlets. Gotta be royalty
Don't
and
get
stay at
above
the
it.
Golden Circlets.
Well, I'm definitely not that.
I hear you there.
How much is a room for one night?
I forget what standard prices are. We're gonna say a silver piece for a room.
A reasonable price.
8 copper to stay in the common room near the hearth. We do have some upscale accommodations, however, nothing like the Golden Circlet. Those are 7 silver pieces.
So is it 7 silver pieces for, whatever they're serving, and then a bath? 'Cause that's all I really need.
Bath could be arranged. I believe there's cooked fowl tonight. We could throw that in.
You've got yourself a deal.
Yep. I'm gonna buy a room for the night, and I'll be back later.
Yes, sir. He gives you a key. He says, the room is on the 2nd floor. Pick. This would be... You're going to go up the stairs, take a right, travel all the way to the end. The 3 doors at the end would be our final rooms. I've given you the key to the one on the right.
Got it.
The view is acceptable. Nothing special.
I'm not worried about the view. I'm worried about bed.
When you're ready for your bath, let us know. We'll send up hot water,
Wonderful.
fresh towels.
Thank you, good sir. May erroneous smile upon you.
He cringes a little.
Where did I get the 14 bottles of fine booze from?
I got 4 bottles of
Gambler's
wine
Hall.
away.
I don't think it was Gambler's. I thought it was like when we were in the Undercity. Like
You may have gotten it from the Elven too.
That's, yeah.
Either that or I thought it was the desert.
Oh, maybe? No. The wine came out of the desert, but I think the booze came out of the Undercity.
Okay. Yeah, plan for that fine booze.
Alright, so you guys have done your thing. Ross and Mark, your characters are traveling to the Temple Way, as it were. You're making your way north across the Port Market, and there's a fairly clear path from where you've started across to the wall. As you get closer, it's very clear that this wall hasn't been used in a very long time. There's an archway. The portcullis is rusted and up. And very defined. There's guards on either side of it, but very defined. You can see that the Port Market ends at the wall, and on the other side of the wall, it's very much not the wild crazy that you're dealing with. Also, the arch above the portcullis is marked with now entering the Martial District.
Okay.
As you travel through the arch into the Martial District, it's very much a change of scenery. The Port Market doesn't have any buildings. It's all just vendor stalls and carts. The Martial District is very much exactly what it sounds. Stone, very nondescript buildings. Some clearly barracks, some clearly armories, everything well marked. The streets are clean. The cobblestone's very even. Although there's, other than a handful of patrols wandering the streets, there isn't a whole lot of traffic here. However, no one eyes you strangely. You travel, and behind these buildings, you can see much closer the 5 spires rising. And several blocks up, you can see you reach an avenue that turns to your left and to your right.
I'm gonna make note of where what would be both smithy, if there's one in this area.
There would be, you would see definite, the signs of a smithy.
Somewhere where I could get raw metals.
Gotcha.
And then also a place, either an armory and a weapon shop if there's one proper, or are the smithies, do they double as that?
Typically, I mean, given what you're seeing, this is definitely more of what you'd expect from an army base. There isn't necessarily shops, per se. You could note several locations where it's possible you might be able to pick up weapons. However, it's extremely more likely there's other places in the city with more free market smithing.
Okay.
You continue to travel through, and you reach the avenue, and once again, very clearly labeled. The roads actually have street signs, and the road to the left is marked as to the Council District, Parks, and North Market. The road to the right is marked as to the Estates.
Oh, the Temple District's to the left?
The Temple District is beyond the Court District.
Okay, so head that way.
So you take a left and travel for a while through much the same, and a road. You've traveled a distance where you're starting to get past the spires, and a road once again turns to your right, to the east, and is labeled as to the Council District.
I sigh, look at these two like, this is fucking exhausting.
So many goddamn people.
Actually, this is better than the market, but he ain't worth it. Keep walking. He's gonna owe me so big time for this.
As you enter the Council District, it's less defined of a differentiation. However, it does clearly change from very martial barracks and such to a more offices and courthouses. There's a lot more open space here. In fact, for the first time since you've entered the city, there's trees. And the road, as you're passing signs, it's clearly marked that if you continue to the east, you will eventually reach Temple Way.
Okay.
After some time of traveling through this kind of more judiciary type district, things start to become a little bit more eccentric, and you reach a sign that says "Welcome to the Arts District," and it's done in very artistic manner.
Just on the top of a building, there's a dildo. Just is this art? I don't know.
The buildings here are a little bit closer together, and there's a lot of studios selling painted portraits and carved statues, more intricate, like silverwork and stuff being sold in shop fronts, in actual shop fronts. All of this behind windows. And once again, signs point you to continue north.
Quick,
Go ahead.
No.
quick thing is that the Kimon beats any metals, basically. I figured out. Okay, I get bored and I start tossing copper coins, letting him snatch them out the air.
Is there a copper coins at him?
Yeah.
Is he still active?
I don't know, is he?
Oh yeah, I guess good point.
Strangely, Monch doesn't seem to be affected by this.
Okay.
A lot you can notice. I mean, those of you who have any kind of non-typical magic
Launch is a baby wrestling.
would notice that those things do not, they've kind of stopped operating, but
It stops them completely, like an email.
but Monch continues. Monch is just chomping coins, which in the arts district is getting some not like terrified looks, but just some like
a dwarf, a halfling, and what's your cleric?
Human.
A human walking by feeding my
Did you
face.
say human?
Human?
Human,
Yes.
And
and
It's a spice.
Is it clear?
I spice things up.
after a very brief time walking, the art shifts away from more eccentric, random, and into more carved marble and very dour paintings. And eventually, this road, you can see clearly up ahead a gate, not a true gate because there's nothing on either side, but a large arch stands over a very wide road that leads to you guys' right.
Do I see dirty hipsters everywhere in this art district?
Not really. I mean,
Because they're
maybe in
assholes.
parts of it, but not in the area that you went through.
you just see people using perspective to make it look like the statues are.
What about like? Is the art district also like the performing arts?
Could be.
Yeah.
The section you
Get a
went
little
through,
weepy.
you were going through basically
So
the very
much.
north end of the arts district.
Never know
The
when-
arts district extends to the south quite some ways.
Never know when you're gonna need to hire a troubadour to help out or something like that.
Beyond this archway and this, once you get beyond that, you can see
That's it, we got your movie.
another wall with the portcullis, and beyond the portcullis, it's the very similar to the chaos you saw in the port market. It's clearly a market. This looks a little bit more random.
I'm looking at the archway. I'm looking at that. And I'm looking back at the dirty hippies, and I'm looking at the market. I'm like, God damn, it keeps getting worse.
However, to your right, if you're at the arch, is a long marble road. And along it is very much, there's tons of open space, and there's these, some of them just huge garish temples. There would be ones you could pick out clearly.
Yeah.
There's the castle-looking structure that's clearly the Temple of Erroneous.
It's got a big tower,
Yeah.
phallic symbol on top.
And
Corellotherians just kind of like trees and
the road continues for quite some distance to the south.
Probably it's just like a random wooden hut.
and nudge to happen like, ain't no business like religion.
Yep. We found our goal.
This is not gonna be cheap.
It's okay. We have not enough at all.
Maybe we can mug them. Hold them hostage until they resurrect a friend.
Steal their secrets.
Raised dead is just a bare minimum, right?
Raised dead is a bare minimum.
And that just restores you as what?
You lose a level. And it not just like you lose a level, like if you were at, let's say you were at 35,000 XP, 1,000 away from 9, you drop to level 7, the very beginning of level 7.
Yeah, I know. Which is what I was.
We can probably charm these pillar guards.
Maybe they have a quest for us to do or something like that. Everyone has a fucking quest.
Look for the guy with an exclamation point over his head.
Speaking of, what is
Looks
pillar?
important.
What style? I don't really know what.
Halor is the god of healing.
Very benevolent.
Good.
They are very, very benevolent. Also, in this particular world, Halor was the one god that remained during the Dark Times.
Okay.
Almost all magic disappeared, however, Halor's healers were still present
Let's see.
on the plane.
Nice.
I make my way to the Palor Temple because that's the one I can resurrect.
Yeah.
So you're walking down the road, and there's
around having a good time.
there's temples. I mean, you would clearly you see like Cord is like a giant stadium, basically.
I make note of that.
And
No
you
wrestling.
this isn't a case where it's only is not only good mutants you're seeing. I mean, you see, you know, Weejoss. There's a temple of Weejoss here. There's other temples within the city, and eventually you can recognize. Not that Weejoss isn't in here.
Weejoss praying in there.
Right.
You eventually reach a point where you can tell you're approaching the Temple of Pelor. Now, the Temple of Pelor looks a lot like a Catholic church, kind of.
Yeah.
However, it's all carved out of marble,
It's very ornate.
and on the top of it is a giant sun of marble.
Jesus Christ. You guys got a god player.
Praise the sun.
Yeah.
So you guys are at the Pelorian Temple. We'll hold up there
Praise the Jesus.
because I happen to know that Mark has stuff that he has to read. If he hasn't read his stuff before, he should have been reading stuff this whole time. But so Tabby, you make your way out of the port market, choosing a more southerly route, which takes you kind of through more middle class homes. Not middle class as we expect middle class today, but they're homes with small yards. It's not densely packed. The roads are wide enough. Clearly, it's people with some wealth,
Other than this, I haven't really
but
too
not
much of
the
you
most
guys.
wealthy.
Right.
Beyond which, you can see, like, beyond these houses, these giant mansions, and just, like, sprawling gardens making up the southern portion of the city.
Probably really heavily traveled.
And the road eventually curves to the east, and you enter a market, but a market very different than the market you came from. This being an area lined with storefronts instead of carts and people peddling their wares. After a brief time kind of perusing the shops, you eventually would find a jeweler
Okay.
who would clearly be interested in gems.
randomly suggested why.
Drop my sack
Taking names.
of gems and go.
I wasn't like super serious about it. I was just like, oh, why? I was, and then she had a dream about it.
Not doing anything.
I was like, yeah, that pretty much seals the deal.
But you're gonna have to carry like $1 billion gold.
I've only known the Hawaiian, so I don't like the people.
Change them in for more valuable silver gems.
But
Oh, okay.
as long as it's not a
Something you can keep in like a pouch rather than like
every fourth thing,
Jen.
like you have a
fucking weird.
like a pillowcase full
I
of
don't think I've ever met anybody
platinum coins.
or Wyatt. for that.
I
don't think I've
goes
ever
through-
known Wyatt.
And so you're going to trade up
My
to a more
Wyatt, I know,
lower
wealthy.
quality,
super
but
area.
better gem. I do
Yeah,
have
Okay,
some
what gems
pieces.
didn't you know?
All of them basically. So I just looked them up. I have an aquamarine.
He takes after me though.
Most of you, if there isn't something tied to it, it's just going to be whatever the base value.
Yeah.
Maybe he will. Maybe he'll put me in my place and be like,
Uh,
I'm fucking better than you.
do you have specifically
think
picked
so?
ones?
I have an azurite of good quality and a flawed azurite.
Do you know where you got them?
Nope. Otherwise, that's really the only labeled things. Otherwise, it's just gem names.
Find them. Brief search here.
This is a fiery yellow.
Hey,
Fiery yellow
yeah,
gem.
I know there's one for little gyms.
That's not a name of a gem.
Like, amen. So.
It's a fiery yellow.
No, they, Village Inn just
Yeah.
declared bankruptcy.
I don't think I
Closed a
knew
whole
how to
bunch
spell
of
for
restaurants.
Oh, must be Minnesota then.
Yeah.
There's two. There's one on the way to Minneapolis. It's right out of there. And there's one.
What's that?
They're actually owned by brothers.
Huh.
Yeah, Kevin and I always thought the one out of Minneapolis because it was really
value.
Two of those.
Forest Lake, whatever the hell it is. So.
Really?
But
I'm guessing if Tourmaline is
we
more.
were walking in there.
Ultimately, he will give you
There's this little girl
a gem that's worth
mom, she's probably like
96% of your total gem's worth
pretty cheap.
Okay.
in exchange.
And
So, judging by what she wrote down, that's a really fucking
said
expensive
it was
gem.
just
Rhodochrosites are 12
we
gold.
were walking. She's like,
Oh,
"Where's Caleb?"
Yeah.
okay.
So
two,
She got a couple written down that say 1,000.
We're gonna, you know,
I don't know for sure. I just
Oh,
looked
that
up.
Kaylin. She's such a card.
That's what it says in the grid.
Blue sapphire,
And it was like perfect
Blue
speed.
sapphires are very
And
expensive.
then
rich purple corundum.
they sat like kitty corner to us.
They're
That was
pretty
listening to
expensive.
her. It
Fiery
was just
yellow
hilarious.
corundum.
The part of it got to me.
Two golden
Was
yellow
like-
topaz.
Her dinner comes, so she had ordered a waffle.
Golden yellow topazes are 50 goldie. The rich purple, you have a rich purple
And
corundum?
she says it.
That's
She's kind of
$1,100
the kid thing where they sit on their knees in the cover. She's like talking to mom and stuff like that, and having a very
don't know
adult
if it's for the
conversation.
right-
And
What
she
I
was
was
like,
like,
"Oh
it's for the
my,
right
I love
edition."
waffles. Thank you, ma'am. I am
Fiery
so
yellow
excited for
corundum.
this waffle."
Yeah.
And she's like doing like the oh man.
She's got the soul of a southern old black
I
lady.
And
saw
like
that.
you know, like
Go back.
moments like that makes you want to have kids, and then
I have
90%
two
of
that
the other
were
moments I
listed
see with
40.
kids, I don't want them.
Uh-huh.
But it's just like those one parts.
But one
Like,
of them
this could
had
lead
no
me to have a
face.
mistake.
I wrote 50 for my two tourmalines.
Yeah, tourmalines I believe are 50.
Oh, okay. I'll just erase this line at the
Yep. Black pearl.
Black pearl is actually used in something, isn't it?
Chalcedony.
Raised dead. Yeah.
He's dead.
Oh, that's kind of like raising the dead.
No,
Yeah.
I
Turn him into a zombie.
Oh, zombie.
No.
Zombie Tom. Oh yeah.
No.
Zombie drill?
Zombie drill.
It's okay.
Bizarro
Sorry.
zombie drill.
Turn him into a zombie and then put a living mask on him.
Uh,
So then she won't know.
You just have to understand the correct
It's like
steps.
the opposite
Hell,
of
dude.
Cut off
the
his
face.
finger,
He just
so you have a
he's in
piece of
figure
him.
mask.
Then turn him into a zombie, then true resurrect the piece of him. And then he has zombie Tomadrill, he has Zombadrill, and Tomadrill.
No.
It's how we make my band.
I'm still wholeheartedly against this.
Oh.
This has the drums.
Alexandrite, you have Alexandrite. I like Jasper and
Taiko drum.
I don't have any Jaspers.
I have a Jasper.
Jaspers are 40 gold.
I have Alexandrite, coral, yellow and gold topaz.
Alexandrite is 40. Or 400 rather.
There's a huge difference between those two.
400.
But let's do this afterwards. But we'll get the gold value.
Yep.
I'm gonna go through the gems.
Okay.
So that's what you're doing.
Yep.
And we'll end with you there. So you guys that are at the temple. You guys are outside the Temple of Pelor.
I divert my cleric first and my rogue too, and be like, we're gonna go this way. Let us know what you find out.
Okay.
You're all alone.
I look at this ostentatious giant temple. I'm like, oh, here goes nothing. And I'm in my dusty armor that's been traveled on. That probably isn't clean with a fucking talking mace. Not necessarily talking, but a hissing mace. And I walk into this temple of goodness. Hooray! Yep, make my way up probably the many stairs. Of
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah. There's quite a stairwell,
Yeah.
It stops about halfway. God damn it.
and there's I mean, the doors even are just ornate with pictures of the sun and
Opulence. That's what that is.
Yeah, they has it.
oh yeah, that has it.
I get to the door. Is there a fucking acolyte anywhere that I can be seen?
I'm not outside the door, no.
Alright, so is it like a knocker?
No, it's just got the big handle on it, the
So
big
I-
brass handle. And as you open the door, immediately just choral singing is coming out.
Throw up a little bit in my mouth.
You get turned.
You hear Ave Maria, a bone
Yeah.
saw pierce.
Ave Maria.
You never want to hear that. The call of the bone saw.
Yeah. I walk in. It's kinda,
And as you step in, it's almost as though you don't step out of the daylight, and it's just opulent, just giant chandeliers filled with candles above this huge hall of worship. And a member of the clergy comes up to you and, how can we help you?
oh, I'm just appreciating your subtlety. I clear my throat and I look at him, you know, as politely as I could possibly look, which is not polite at all. I say, well, I've come to inquire on how much it costs for raised deads and resurrections.
And you see very clearly his eyes both light up, and he's also kind of like, he doesn't know what to do, and he goes, please allow me to go get one of the priests for you. And he scurries away at, like, not just like a walk, like a hustle.
Yeah.
There's profit in this.
Yeah, but just...
He's gone for a bit. And
She's like, this is never good.
Yeah.
Actual Catholic Church.
Yeah.
eventually a older, you know, gray beard, but very well tended. However, compared to his surroundings, he's very much, it's not like he's garnered in silver and, you know, he's got very simple robes on. He does have a silver holy symbol of Pelor on his neck. And he approaches you, and as he's approaching, the scribe from before is like clearly trying to stop him, and he's just like pushes him off, and he goes, "Come to my office." He's much more gruff and direct than the pages.
The scribe was trying to stop him? Interesting.
And he, that's all he said. "Come to my office," and he turns and he walks back the way he came from.
Alright. I follow him.
Bedtime.
He's, you walk down, it feels like forever down just like
Oh, I know what forever to
adornments
get here.
in, statues,
Yeah.
suits of armor, and frescoes on the walls, and he comes to a wooden door,
Da
and he
Vinci
opens it,
painting.
Yep.
and he just turns and looks at you. And it's not like disgust, it's not hate, he just looks at you.
I look back at him and I'm like, me first?
And he clearly, I mean, it's clearly he's like a no-nonsense, and he just kind of makes the motion of just like, get in.
Alright, so I go in.
He closes the door and he goes, "I'm not going to mess with subtleties here." And he goes over, and there's a carafe of wine and fine wine glasses. And he goes, there's just like a bookshelf with closed doors at the bottom. He just opens the bottom door and he takes out a bottle that's clearly a hard liquor and 2 glasses, sets it down, unstoppers it, pours 2 glasses, half sets, half tosses one on the table in front of you, and just, he takes his and just one drink, just, and he fills it again, and then he sits down. And he goes, "I hear you're looking for services in returning the dead."
I go and I grab the drink and I go, same thing. It's like, I see that you and I have similar interests.
When you do that, you see just like the eyebrow raise, like, he pours you another.
And I sit down and I was like, I'm gonna tell you a tale of indentured servitude. And I proceed to tell him how I came into the employ of one flamboyant half-elf that has caused me no end of heartburn and headache. However, I have sworn an oath of protection upon my honor, and I have failed. The only recourse that I see is to resurrect him to his pristine form, and I put Monch on the table. As proof of this bond, I have to deal with this. And I take out a silver piece and I go, and I just drop it in his mouth. And he goes,
And he's got his glass. He's like, drinks it again, fills it up again. He goes, "Not the strangest story I've heard, nor the strangest thing I've heard." Now, mind you, the clerics here like to maintain the public view of opulence. Helps keep our clergy large and money flowing. I'm not here for that. My family has been clerics of lore since the dark times. The stories handed down are of hardship, galore, dragging the dregs of society from darkness into light. However, if you haven't noticed, the city is an expensive place. In a case like this, I'm willing to offer my services personally
No less what
for the base cost here for the supplies to perform such acts. Tops your drink off and he goes, probably going to want to drink that before you hear prices.
I sigh. Drink it. And set it back down, like, hit me.
He'll fill you up again.
Yeah. Alright, I'm ready.
Our most basic services to raise the dead are 8,175 gold pieces. While this is quite steep, there are many at times who come for these services, and as such, the supplies are at a premium. However, for better assurance and more protection in returning one from the dead, I can offer a higher level of resurrection for only a marginal increase.
What's the margin?
For 10,630 gold, I could perform a resurrection. Of course, I'll need some time to prepare.
I look at him and say, your family's been in the business of Halo for a while, huh? I'm going to offer this information a little bit free of charge. I don't know if you noticed, there's been some grumblings about the Gem of Hextor and a battle coming that's going to involve the gods. Currently, we were on a quest of such nature when the unspeakable happened to my employer. And you can
tell him what happened to him?
Huh?
Did you tell him what happened to
No,
him?
but I'm gonna.
Okay.
I was like, regale about the Black Dragon and kind of our quest and what it's revolving around and what we faced on the Isle of Demons or whatever it was called. And I said,
Devil's Maw.
the Devil's Maw. And I said, clearly there's workings here that are larger than such a humble dwarf as myself can understand. And perhaps I'll need to put you in touch with my acquaintance, Talus. See if he recognizes that.
There's no recognition.
Okay. Powerful wizard, hails out of whatever town he was in.
You can see when you mentioned wizard, he's kind of, it's not disgust, he masked it fairly well.
Yeah.
Kind of a sneer, just a
10,600 gold pieces is a lot. Particularly as it looks around as seems like business doing pretty well.
well, the office you're in is very, very meager.
Yeah. Regardless of how you portray yourselves or what accoutrements you decide to adorn yourself with, business is good. And I also know that performing a resurrection in this town brings in quite a spectacle. It also helps to drum up the faith. particular since you're the only ones that are allowed to do it. So maybe we can find some negotiation, and I can provide you with the means to create such a miracle.
Diplomacy check.
He's clearly weighing the options. You can roll a sense motive for his retort.
Actually, I think there's sense because of the fence, is it? 22.
He is very much speaking the truth. You can see he puts some thought in. He says, "You're probably right that my fellows would like to create this as a spectacle as such. However, I'm willing to bet they will not budge on their price. However, I also am well aware of some accounting issues that may occur within our vaults. And as such, a handful or several bags of coin may not go unnoticed. I will pitch it to my fellows. However, in any discussion with them, you paid full price."
I'm gonna look at him and say, finish my drink, and say, as a little caveat to this, you'd be resurrecting. Forget what my mom's name is. Did I name her? Thought I did.
Now you did. You met her.
You just refer
Yeah.
to them as a bitch.
Oh. No.
Tisha.
Do you remember if I named her?
I don't believe I have a name in my notes.
Okay, so I'll figure out a name for her, but I'm gonna say her name. Does it register with him?
He giggles. He goes, "Makes sense. That's why our ship is in port."
And so you can do whatever you want with that spectacle. But I'd be willing to bet the church that performed such a miracle on such an illustrious, powerful woman as her will garner quite a bit of favor. So maybe we can do a little bit better than 10%.
As I've said, I'm willing to create a 10% discount, not because my fellows will, but because I'm willing to deal with the issues within the vaults when I throw down bags that are a few coins short. He pours himself one more glass and there's like this much left in the bottle. Sticks the stopper in it and he slides his ego. From one fellow of good drink to another. He raises the glass and toast and he drinks it.
I take the bottle and I take out one of my bottles of fine booze and like sets it on there. I was like, we acquired this in our journeys. Perhaps you'll find a good use for it. And slide it across.
The stopper back in. He sets it down in his little private cabinet down there.
Good day,
And
sir.
looks to we'll be in touch.
That
So at that, we'll pick up there.
won't at all.
We won't wake up at all.
No. I'll come over.
I'm about halfway there.
Haven't heard from you in a couple of days, and I'm just like,
Well, halfway there to resurrect him.
you've been
Yeah.
beating me.
No, all I have
I
to
mean,
do.
I'm gathering funds. I've got
A little bit.
a good
Oh, I think I might
Well,
have
good.
some jobs. Find some nerds in town.
And there will be plenty of opportunities for money to be made. So
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go wrestle in court. freeze myself up.